Welcome to Awareness with Vanessa. Today we're exploring a question that reaches beneath every role, emotion, thought, and identity we carry. Who is the part of you that notices the experience? The avatar may carry your name, history, fears, and responsibilities, but the observer is the awareness behind it all. This is the observer behind the human avatar.
So picture this. You're staring at a screen. Your character takes a massive hit, and before your brain can even process what just happened, you physically flinch on the
Oh,
couch.
yeah. Your shoulders jerk back, your heart rate spikes.
Right, your grip tightens so hard your knuckles literally turn white, and for that split second, the controller in your hands just completely disappeared.
You totally forget that you are a person sitting in a living room, safely away from any real danger.
Exactly. You become the character.
And the physical reactions are entirely real, right?
Yeah.
I mean, the adrenaline dumping into your bloodstream, the muscle tension, but the threat itself is completely digital.
Yeah, the separation between the player and the game just temporarily collapses. It leaves you entirely consumed by the illusion of the screen.
Which is such a wild experience when you step back and think about it.
It really is. And that sensation of collapsing into the game, of completely losing yourself in the simulation, it bridges perfectly into our ongoing journey. So you, the listener, just wrapped up our last deep dive, The Exit Steps, Part 3, Exiting the Level 7 Simulation. We spent that entire discussion unraveling how to catch unconscious programming and step off autopilot in your daily life.
Right. We explored how to recognize those invisible scripts that are basically running your reactions.
But pulling back the curtain on that programming naturally exposes a deeper, much more profound mystery, I think.
It absolutely does. Because if you dive into Vanessa Klinger's work, specifically weaving through texts like The Human Experience and Destiny Realized,
Yeah.
you continually bump up against this central paradox.
For a big question.
Yes. If you have the ability to catch an automatic reaction before you actually act on it, who exactly is the one doing the noticing?
Who is noticing the autopilot? That is the ultimate question we are tackling today. We are officially calling today's mission The Observer Behind the Human Avatar.
I love that title.
Thanks. But to figure out who is doing the observing, we really have to start by clearly defining the thing being observed, right?
Definitely. And in The Human Experience, Klinger leans heavily on this concept of the avatar, which, well, it requires some serious unpacking to understand how it operates in your actual life.
Yeah, break that down for us. What is the avatar?
So in this psychological framework, the avatar is your interface.
Yeah.
It is the specific vehicle through which you are participating in reality right now.
Okay.
It's basically composed of everything you currently identify with. That includes your given name, your physical body, your career trajectory, your ambitions.
Like the stats on a character sheet.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But it also encompasses the specific roles you play, right? Like maybe you're the reliable older sibling or the stressed out manager or the family peacemaker.
Right.
And most crucially, the avatar's makeup includes your deeply painful past experiences and your survival mechanisms.
Now, hold on. I need to challenge this framing right out of the gate. Because if someone has spent, 20 years grinding to build a specific career, or if they survived intense, visceral childhood trauma, calling those deeply defining experiences avatar stats or an interface feels incredibly dismissive.
Yeah.
It risks trivializing actual, lived human pain by reducing it to a video game mechanic, doesn't it?
That resistance makes complete sense, and honestly, it is usually the first major hurdle when people encounter this material. But the purpose of this framework is not to trivialize or dismiss your lived reality.
Okay, then what is the purpose?
The joy you feel is genuine. The trauma physically lives and breathes in your nervous system. Nobody's denying that. The goal here is contextualization.
Contextualization.
Right. It's about asking whether your accumulated history and your current roles represent the absolute entirety of your existence.
Meaning if the roles are stripped away, you still remain.
Exactly.
If you lose that hard-earned career tomorrow, or if the family dynamic shifts and you're no longer the peacemaker, you don't cease to exist.
No, you don't.
There is a part of you that remains entirely untouched by that external loss.
And that untouched part is the observer. It is the pure awareness sitting on the couch holding the controller.
Right.
The observer is the underlying consciousness capable of noticing the avatar's messy, painful, and beautiful experiences without automatically fusing with them.
Okay, in theory, separating the player from the character sounds incredibly liberating, but let's bring this down to the pavement, though.
Let's do it.
In the heat of the moment, like when your boss disrespects you in a meeting or someone cuts you off in traffic, nobody feels like a calm player on a couch.
No, not at all.
Your blood is boiling. Does shifting your internal language from "I am angry" to "I am noticing anger" actually do anything tangible? Because, frankly, it just sounds like a psychological word game.
I know it sounds like semantics, but we are actually talking about a mechanical, biological shift in your brain here.
Really? A biological shift?
Yes. Let's look at the neurology of complete identification. When you say, I am angry or I am a failure, your brain's threat center, the amygdala, completely hijacks your nervous system.
Oh, wow.
In that fraction of a second, the emotion is your total reality. You are entirely fused with the feeling, which dictates that your avatar must act it out.
Yeah.
You have zero option.
Zero optionality. It's like hitting a knee with a reflex hammer.
Exactly. The health bar flashes red, the controller vibrates, and the reaction happens before conscious thought even enters the equation.
Right.
But when you shift your internal language to observation, like mechanically stating, I am noticing anger or I am observing a feeling of threat, you interrupt that reflex.
How so?
By forcing your brain to label the emotion, which is a process known in psychology as affect labeling, you actually draw blood flow away from the amygdala.
Oh, interesting.
And you redirect it into the prefrontal cortex. You are actively bringing logic, reason, and executive function back online.
So you are wedging a split-second pause between the external stimulus and your internal sense of self. It's like hitting the clutch in a manual car. You disconnect the engine from the wheels just long enough to choose a different gear, rather than just accelerating into a brick wall.
That is a perfect analogy.
Yeah.
And the crucial nuance here is that the emotion doesn't vanish. Your palms might still be sweating.
Your heart is definitely still racing.
Right. The biological response is happening, but you have stepped back just far enough to look at the emotion rather than viewing the entire world through it.
I can see how that creates a pause, but doesn't saying, "I am noticing anger" bleed dangerously close to emotional suppression.
How do you mean?
Well, it sounds a bit like numbing out to avoid reality. Are we just meant to sit in the bleachers of our own lives, passively watching our anger float by without actually dealing with the injustice that caused it?
That is the most common trap people fall into with this material. Observation requires the exact opposite of passivity.
It does.
Yes. Numbing out is a form of checking out, like scrolling on your phone, pouring a drink, leaving the room so you don't have to feel the discomfort.
Right, avoiding it.
Observation demands intense, deeply uncomfortable presence. You have to sit squarely in the fire of that emotion without giving into the urge to act on it immediately.
Oh, I see. So you aren't suppressing the fire. You are standing close enough to feel the heat, but you're choosing not to accidentally throw gasoline on it by reacting blindly.
Exactly. Klinger actually touches on this dynamic in Let Us Make Man. The external environment is constantly demanding a reaction from you.
Always.
Someone insults you, and the environment demands you insult them back. An automatic reaction is your consent to keep that unconscious game going.
You sign the contract the moment you blindly react.
Precisely. That neurological pause we are dissecting, that is the exact moment you revoke your consent.
Let's ground this in daily life so you, the listener, can see how this pause prevents a situation from spiraling.
Good idea.
Let's take a classic workplace scenario. You are in a meeting and receive some incredibly sharp, maybe even unfair criticism from a manager.
The immediate identified reaction from the avatar is intense defensiveness. The avatar's carefully constructed identity as a competent employee is actively under attack.
Right. The ego is threatened.
And if you are entirely merged with the avatar, your amygdala takes over. You either argue back defensively, making you look insubordinate, or you completely shut down, which just breeds deep internal resentment.
But if the active observer is online, you still feel that flush of heat in your face, right? The embarrassment or the defensiveness is still very real in your body.
Absolutely.
But instead of speaking from that heat, you pause. You realize, I am observing my avatar feeling threatened right now.
And that micropause allows you to separate the useful, constructive elements of the manager's feedback from your own historical fear of failure.
Wow.
You don't numb out. You actually enhance your ability to listen and respond strategically, rather than just defending your avatar's ego.
That's powerful. Let's look at something even more visceral, though, texting anxiety.
Oh, yes.
You send a highly vulnerable text to someone you care about. You watch the read receipt pop up, and then silence. Hours pass. The avatar absolutely deteriorates in that silence.
Oh, it really does. The avatar's survival mechanism immediately kicks in, attempting to fill the void with a narrative to protect itself.
It spins stories like they don't care about me, or I was way too needy, or they're intentionally ignoring me.
And if you are identified with the avatar in that agonizing waiting period, you act out the narrative.
Yep. You fire off a passive-aggressive follow-up text, or you decide to preemptively ice them out.
Exactly. You manufacture a massive real-world conflict out of literally nothing but your own internal storytelling.
But the observer catches the narrative before it solidifies into a belief.
Right. Observation keeps the frustration as useful data. It recognizes that a boundary might have been crossed, or that you might need to have a conversation later.
But you aren't reacting yet.
No, the observer retains the power to choose the best response, which might just be acknowledging that the other person is likely stuck in a meeting rather than launching a preemptive strike.
You know, I experienced the mechanics of this firsthand with a deeply ingrained habit I used to have.
Oh, tell me about that.
I would constantly over-apologize, especially around intimidating personalities. Like I would start every pitch with, sorry to bother you, or sorry, but I was thinking...
It is so common.
Yeah, and I tried for years to brute force my way out of it using pure willpower. I'd walk into a room telling myself, do not apologize, and within 3 minutes, the willpower would collapse and I'd do it anyway.
Because willpower is notoriously ineffective for rewriting deep unconscious programming. Willpower is fighting the symptom, not the root cause.
Exactly. So I eventually stopped trying to fight it and leaned into this concept of observation. Instead of fixing the habit, I just watched myself do it.
That's the shift right there.
Yeah. I stepped back and observed the physical sensation of wanting to shrink in a room. And in that pause, I realized the apologizing wasn't politeness. It was my avatar's deeply coded fear of taking up space.
It was a survival tactic.
It really was. And here's where the mechanism actually proved itself. Just by observing the behavior without judging it, the habit began to dismantle itself. I shone a flashlight onto the gears of the machine, and because I could finally see how the machinery operated, it lost its hidden power over me.
That process of shining a light on the gears perfectly illustrates how micro-level observation scales into macro-level transformation. We often fall into the trap of believing that transformation requires massive, sweeping, dramatic actions,
The classic trap of thinking you need to quit your job, move to a remote cabin, and reinvent your entire personality to grow.
Exactly. But transformation actually begins with unflinching, brutal honesty about what your avatar repeatedly does and why it does it. This is a core theme in Reality Reprogrammed. Awareness must always precede change. Makes sense. Think about the basic rules of computing. You cannot rewrite a computer program while it is currently executing a command.
Yeah.
You have to stop the execution to access the source code.
That's brilliant. It's like you cannot see the layout of a maze while you are frantically sprinting inside of it, hitting the same dead ends over and over again.
Right.
As long as you are running, you only see the walls directly in front of your face. You have to stop running and metaphorically float above the maze to actually recognize the pattern of where you are stuck.
Yes, because life relies on friction as a signaling mechanism. It will repeatedly present you with the exact same lessons.
Oh, absolutely.
If you are entirely identified with the avatar running blindly inside the maze, you are destined to repeat the same painful loops. You will end up dating the exact same toxic archetype in 3 different cities.
Or you'll recreate the same toxic dynamic with 5 different bosses.
And you will simply assume you have inherently bad luck.
The observer is the vantage point that spots the pattern. And once you see the pattern from above, you can't unsee it.
No, you can't.
But we have to be completely honest about the collateral damage of this process. Stepping out of the maze and changing your avatar's code is incredibly messy, particularly when it comes to the people around you.
Oh, it really is. Klinger dives into this friction deeply in Sessions with Destiny. There is a transitional space she refers to as the gap.
The gap.
Yeah. It is a profoundly uncomfortable void between who your avatar used to be, who your ecosystem expects you to be, and who you are currently becoming.
Right, because your friends, your family, your coworkers, they rely on your old code. Their own avatars are calibrated to interact with your predictable reactions.
Exactly.
If you have always been the person who easily folds during an argument and suddenly you pause, observe, and hold a firm boundary, it throws their entire reality off balance.
It creates immense tension. People will often accuse you of acting out of character, simply because you are no longer supplying them with the automatic reactions they depend on.
That's tough.
It is. The true agonizing work of the observer is holding that tension. It is the strength to sit in the gap without defaulting back to your old programming, just to alleviate someone else's discomfort.
Man, that requires a staggering amount of emotional endurance, especially when you acknowledge that a lot of those old patterns, the people-pleasing, the defensiveness, the shrinking, they were forged as protective armor during moments of genuine trauma.
Yes.
They were valid survival modes.
They were. The avatar adapted brilliantly to survive whatever painful environment you came from. Observation delicately untangles your authentic self, the pure consciousness, from that heavy armor.
It honors the past.
Exactly. You acknowledge the past, you honor the incredible resilience it took to survive, but you recognize that a survival mechanism installed 20 years ago does not dictate the totality of who you are today.
That is so profound. If we pull all of these threads together, looking across Klinger's work and the practical realities of the amygdala and the messy gap, what is the core mandate for the listener today?
The mandate is that becoming the observer is never a strategy for escaping your life.
Right.
It is not an intellectual loophole to check out or avoid the messy reality of being human. It is the ultimate tool for fierce, conscious participation.
Conscious participation.
Yes, it allows you to feel the full spectrum of existence, the devastating pain, the frustration, the overwhelming joy, while maintaining the grounding realization that you are the vast awareness holding those experiences, not the passing experiences themselves.
We want you to carry the specific lens into your week. When the friction hits, use it as a trigger. The next time your heart rate spikes or you feel that sudden hot flush of defensiveness in your chest, force the pause. Ask yourself, what specific role or identity is my avatar protecting right now? And beneath the job titles, the family roles, and the history, who are you beyond the character you are playing today?
Cultivating that pause rewires how you interact with every facet of your reality. And I want to leave you with one final, deeply provocative thought to explore on your own.
Okay, let's hear it.
We spend a lot of time focusing on stepping back from pain, threat, and reactivity, right? But if you are the pure awareness observing the avatar, and the act of observation intrinsically requires a degree of detachment, what happens when your avatar is experiencing profound, pure joy?
Wow.
When you are holding your child or standing in absolute awe of a moment, do you remain the detached observer on the couch, watching the beauty from a distance? Or is there a specific moment where the highest form of consciousness is to put down the controller, collapse the distance, and dive entirely into the screen?
Let's bring Vanessa back for her closing reflection.
The observer is not asking you to disconnect from your life. It is asking you to become more conscious of how you are participating in it. You can feel anger without allowing anger to choose your next action. You can experience fear without assuming fear is telling you the truth. And you can recognize the identity you have built without believing it represents the totality of who you are. Sometimes awareness asks us to step back and observe. Other times, it allows us to enter the moment more fully, to recognize the joy, the love, the beauty, and the meaning of the experience while we are still inside it. The ideas explored today are woven throughout my books, including The Human Experience, Let Us Make Man, Reality Reprogrammed, Time to Transform, Sessions with Destiny, Destiny Realized, and Not My Own. And the journey continues with Level 8, the next novel in the Human Experience trilogy, releasing August 8th. Until next time, question everything, observe more, because awareness changes everything.